Donald Trump is getting exposed in real time every time he lies. And they lie so much that these same lies are catching up to them. Because Trump just admitted today that Americans pay for the tariffs after spending years trying to convince us other countries were paying for them. Let's take a look at this video.
Then do you agree then that Americans are paying those tariffs?
I think, no, I don't agree. I think that they might be paying something, but when you take the overall impact, the Americans are gaining tremendously. They're gaining through national security. Look, I'm ending war because of these tariffs. Americans would have to fight in some of these.
So they're not paying tariffs, but they are paying for the tariffs. Did Trump get caught lying, or did he finally learn what a tariff was? Either answer is unacceptable. I want to remind you that this is the same guy who said we're making $17 trillion from tariffs. But Trump, if we're paying for the tariffs and we made $17 trillion, are you saying you taxed us $17 trillion? And where is this money nobody has seen? Well, lucky for us, somebody actually did do the calculations, and Americans are going to pay about 30 to 80% of the tariffs Trump is talking about. Let's take a look at this video.
Americans should be really upset and bothered by what Trump's own lawyers are saying. They walked into that courtroom. They told the entire Supreme Court that it's going to raise $4 trillion. Trillion, unimaginable amounts of money. And even in their own words, 30 to 80% are going to be paid for, that's right, Trump's own lawyers, by the American people. That is wild. It's also consistent with what we're seeing in our stores right now. You're seeing the prices of groceries go up. You're seeing the prices of clothing go up. You're seeing utility costs in America going up when we have an affordability crisis. And in the same sentence, this president, in his infinite wisdom, is yanking back food assistance, is yanking health care. This is not the America that anyone I know voted for last November, and it's a betrayal of trust for all of us.
When your own lawyers are telling you you're wrong and explaining that tariffs are a detriment to your own U.S. citizens, but you sit here telling half-truths, claiming back in October we were going to make $20 trillion in 1 year. Wow, Trump, that's a world record. You could use that money to pay SNAP away. And with 80% of Americans paying this $20 trillion, that would mean $16 trillion came from Americans, on top of the taxes we already pay. So did you tax Americans more, or is this number made up? Let's take a look at this video.
And anybody else, $17 trillion. It could be $20 trillion by the end of the first year, my first year.
Investment in America.
Investing in America, $20 trillion. No country's ever done anywhere even near that, like a fraction of that. Biden did less than $1 trillion in 4 years. I did 20 trillion. We're going to do over 17 trillion in 8 months. By the time we end, we could do over $20 trillion. There's never, in China, no matter where you go, there's never been anything like it. We are building up something that's unbelievable. And a big part of that are the tariffs, because they don't want to have to pay the tariffs.
If that's true, then why did Trump lift the tariffs on China? Because our farmers are going bankrupt. How come they didn't see any of that $20 trillion? Because it's not there. It doesn't exist. And in continuance into Trump's web of lies, he claims that he ended 8 wars. 6 of these wars he ended with tariffs. Tariffs are now ending wars and saving Americans' lives. Let's take a look at this video.
And I use them for national defense. I ended, of the 8 wars I ended, I would say 5 or 6 were ended because of tariffs. I'll give you an example. If you take a look at India and Pakistan, they started to fight. They're 2 nuclear nations. They were shooting each other. 8 planes were shot down. There was 7, now it was 8, because the one that was sort of shot down is now abandoned. And 8 planes were shot down. And I said, listen, if you guys are going to fight, I'm going to put tariffs on you.
And in a shocking twist of events, India's leader denied that Trump ended any war. And then months later, we see India and Russia meeting up with China, because apparently their relationship went south afterward. Donald Trump seems to think everybody else in the world is MAGA. It's the problem with being surrounded by yes men 24/7 and telling you you're doing a great job when you're doing a horrible job, because they fear losing their jobs, because they fear you. This is the result of forced respect. And in return, they get paid while you become a worse leader, because you can't get better at something if nobody's there to tell you when you're wrong. So when Trump tries to sit here and tell us that his trade war is strengthening relationships with other countries, when in reality it's isolating America from the rest of the world and forcing other countries' leaders of having to find ways to no longer rely on America because we refuse to cooperate with anybody because Trump wants to choke slam them into the pavement, the long-term effects of this, let alone the shorts, would be devastating. It would be the biggest fall from grace any country has ever seen, so much so that Trump's own Republicans voted against him in the Senate to stop his ability to give tariffs. That is how bad it's gotten. Furthermore, Trump told us this was going to create American jobs. If that's true, then why did we lose 153,000 jobs last month? That is an increase of 100,000 job losses compared to last year around October. Let's take a look at this video.
About the health of the job market, Steve Leisman joins us with the latest numbers from Challenger on job cuts. What's going on?
Yeah, well, this is like a clue from like a cough or a sneeze or whatever. But announced corporate job cuts, Andrew, in the U.S. surging past 1 million so far this year, with 153,000 new layoffs announced just in October, according to Challenger. That is the worst October since 2003. Here are the numbers. October up 153. That compares with September. That's 100,000 more than September, and 100,000 more than this time last year in October 2024. Andy Challenger commenting, some industries are correcting after the hiring boom of the pandemic, but this comes as AI adoption, softening consumer and corporate spending, and rising costs drive belt tightening and hiring freezes. Announced layoffs don't always lead to actual cuts and could take place from attrition, but the report puts in perspective what we've been reporting here day after day, week after week. Series of marquee announcements unveiled in recent weeks across U.S. industries, including UPS, Amazon, Target, among others, Paramount, Rivian, all these companies there. Government has been responsible year to date for 308,000. But look at that, tech 141. That could be where you see a lot of the AI, maybe some in warehousing, but a big chunk of that's going to be UPS, as well as potentially some hit from reduced flows of trade. Retail's up there, as is services at 64,000. You take out the Doge cuts, the number's a bit better at 800,000, but still well above last year. Challenger doesn't see much in the way of hiring, saying announced plans are 35% below last year, and they're skeptical about the number of new hires for the holiday season.
So not only is Trump's tariffs at 80% tax on us, which, let's be real, his lawyers were probably deflating how much that number is, seeing as how we are 100% responsible for the tariffs Trump places on other countries. But we also have less jobs as a result in retail, warehousing, and the like. Also, with consumers not spending money because they're trying to survive in a terrible economy, jobs are firing more people because there's no profits being made to justify the hiring of more. So they're letting people go to save money because they actually make more firing people because no one's buying anything. This is Trump's economy. And this is why the last time the US relied on tariffs was in the 1930s during the Great Depression, with many even saying it caused the Great Depression. But it is a 100% fact that it strongly contributed to it. And here we are again with the threat of yet another one. All because President Trump does not know what he is doing. He is unfit. He fired the professionals and has a bunch of unqualified loyalists around him, as stated in Project 2025, to include the authors of Project 2025 in his cabinet in high position. How can we expect Trump to care about anybody else when somebody he knows collapsed behind him and he looks annoyed by it? He looks like he cannot be bothered by what just happened. Here's the video to that. You'll notice RFK Jr. evacuating as fast as possible.
Gordon, you okay?
Oh, Donald Trump. And with how fast RFK Jr. left, I'm really hoping he didn't give him raw milk. On a more serious note, I hope he's okay. But you know what's more important to Trump than helping a fellow American out? Lying about the price of groceries. Because amidst all of this, he claims that Thanksgiving is going to be 25% cheaper this year. And after this claim, he gets fact-checked on his own post by everybody. But let's take a look at this video.
This has been a major achievement for your administration, targeting the segment of our population that needs it the most, that has the highest obesity rates. You're making it affordable. You are truly saving lives. That's coming from the viewers that we've had in that 1 hour that we took a little bit of a break. My question to you is, Walmart just pushed out a report that says this year's traditional Thanksgiving meal will cost 25% less than it did under the Biden administration, plus gas prices being down in the $2 region makes it more affordable to travel to grandma's house this Thanksgiving.
Thank you very much. And I read, it's not so much a question, it's a statement. I would have made the statement, but we have a lot of things happening, so I wouldn't necessarily have made it right now. So Walmart, to me, you know, that's AAA, came out that nobody's going to influence them. I don't know them. But they just came out with a very powerful statement. They've done it for many years, that under the Biden administration, Thanksgiving meal, a Thanksgiving meal with all the trimmings, cost 25% more. In other words, our Thanksgiving this year coming up will cost 25% less than sleepy Joe Biden's. Now, to me, that's better than anything there is. That's better than a poll. They've got everything included, from the trimmings and from the turkey and from everything, a lot of different items. It's 25% less this year than it was last year when he was so-called in charge. He wasn't in charge. The people around the desk were in charge. The auto pen was in charge.
It is scary how fast Trump believes a lie without any form of fact-checking. Trump was so incorrect in his statement that he got fact-checked by his own commenters, saying the 2025 Walmart Thanksgiving meal contains 15 items, while the 2024 meal contained 21 items. Additionally, most of the brand name items in 2024 meal were replaced with great value items. And simple math tells us that if there was 21 items last year in the Thanksgiving meal and there's 15 items now, that means you get 32% less food for a 25% reduction in cost. So you actually pay 7% more for less food. It just looks cheaper. And that's assuming they kept the weight measurements the same as well. These people swear that everybody else is MAGA. We don't believe the lies. You will get fact checked. And when an interview asked Trump to his face, you just said Americans are paying the tariffs. So how do we have money coming in from other countries if Americans are paying for it? And here is Trump's answer to that.
Tariffs are taxes that they're paid by Americans. He said this pretty clearly. And yet you're saying that this money is rolling in from other countries. How do you square those two?
Well, it's coming in because they've charged us. You know, those same countries that you talk about are charging us massive amounts of money. If you look at the tariffs over the years that were put on our heads, there's a reason we're $38 trillion owed. Now that money's going to start coming down. But we had presidents that didn't know how to use tariffs. We had presidents that had no understanding of business. But if you take a look at what's happened to us, every country charges tariffs.
This is a problem with firing the professionals. A basic economics professional will tell you the comparative advantage of trading with other countries instead of trying to produce every good on your own, because in the end, you spend more money trying to produce those same goods than buying it cheaper from another country, which is why we trade with other countries in the first place. And that's why we had a free trade agreement with Canada and Mexico, because all three of us benefited greatly together. I took a special interest in this topic in my international business and economics classes. We don't trade to screw each other over. That's called a trade war. We trade to get the best deals possible. Most countries have a certain amount of resources they can spend on creating a certain good, and they might have a surplus of better crops for that good. And I'm not going to go too deep into this, but it is alarming that the president doesn't know this. He didn't say anything, just more lies, and nobody's buying it anymore. Every time he lies, he makes himself look worse, because as long as the fact checks outweigh the lies, he's powerless. So if he wants to misinform and disinform, then we'll re-inform and dismiss how uninformed our president is. Now here's Trump bragging about his deal with China to get them to buy soybeans from our soybean farmers again. Trump, I thought you said we made $20 trillion. If we're richer without China, then why would they need to buy our soybean? Oh, because we're worse off without our trade partners. And we saw that with farmers losing everything they had. I'm talking 7th generation farms going bankrupt, begging Trump, please fix it with China. And here he is lying in this video that he got the best deal they've ever had with China, when in fact China is going to order the same exact amount of soybeans they were ordering before the tariff started. All you did was ruin lives here, but let's take a look at this video.
To the table, they talk. We made a wonderful deal for everybody. Our farmers, as you know, with the soybeans at levels that nobody's ever seen before. We were able to make phenomenal deals. If we didn't have the tariffs, we wouldn't have been able to do that. So we thought we did very well yesterday. We hope that we did.
You're a sad man, Donald Trump. Why lie? Just make the country better. Why lie about doing it? Why give the perception? Oh yeah, in Trump's book, he wrote he only plays to their desires and not to what's actually happening in reality. He only knows manipulation. And to give you an idea of how long he's been manipulating people, he wrote this book back in 1987. It's a skill he has been working on for years. He has created a cult where you are not allowed to tell the truth. You can only repeat him. He is a master at manipulation and a jester at best of a president. He also claimed he lowered gas prices to $2 on average and that Joe Biden had it up to $4 to $5. But when we take a look at the national average, the current amount for gasoline is $3.08. And a year ago, the national average was $3.10. And these are fluctuating prices because just last month it was $3.13, i.e. he has done nothing for gas prices. He lied about Joe Biden's and he's lying about his. And he talks about that right here in this video, claiming the prices of everything else has gone down as well. Let's take a look at it.
We only have one thing, beef, because the cattle ranches are doing well. We're going to bring the beef prices down, and they understand that, even if we have to help them out. But the beef also is not a big difference, but every price is down. The biggest price is energy. We're at almost $2 for gasoline, and you take a look at where they were at $4.50, $5 for gasoline.
So no, Donald Trump, every price is not down. And you especially did not decrease gasoline from $5 to $2. And last but not least, Trump gets asked about the ruling to reverse his tariffs. And he says that if that happens, it'll be a catastrophe and we'll owe trillions. Let's take a look at this video.
Before the Supreme Court issues a ruling, it could be several weeks. Are you going to lay out any new additional tariffs before that?
I don't want to talk about it. I'm going to hope that we win. I can't imagine that anybody would do that kind of devastation to our country. You know, we'd have to pay back trillions of dollars. We've taken in trillions. We haven't taken in billions. We've taken in trillions of dollars. We've made trade deals based on that give us, as an example, European Union, $950 billion. Japan, $650 billion. South Korea, $350 billion. Without this, we're not talking about that kind of money. And they're okay, they're satisfied, they love us. I just left. They all love us. So it's not like we're such bad people. But they were doing it to us until I came along.
Before the Supreme Court issues a ruling.
They were doing it to us until I came along.
Number one, we lost trillions of dollars because you added to our deficit, Donald Trump, with your big, beautiful bill and every other bad policy you passed. And to be more specific, you've added over $1 trillion to our deficit, with your big, beautiful bill expected to add $3 trillion over the next 10 years, including interest. And we're supposed to listen to you on how to decrease that deficit? When in his first term, it is estimated that over a 10-year period, Trump has added $8.4 trillion to the national deficit with interest. And we're supposed to listen to you on how to lower this. The same man that bankrupted 7 businesses in 1 country. And before we end this video on some good news, a federal judge is forcing Trump to pay SNAP and using his own Truth Social post against him. A federal judge smacked down the Trump administration for refusing to pay food stamp benefits, calling a Truth Social post by Donald Trump an admission of intent to defy the court order and requiring the USDA to make payments in full by Friday. Getting fact checked by us is one thing, but getting fact checked by a federal judge, oh, he's in hot water. And with all of that being said, America is not buying Trump's lies anymore. Not only are his lies causing MAGA to leave the cult, but I don't think there's any redemption for Donald Trump. There's no coming back from this. They haven't learned their lesson the first time with the New York, Virginia, and New Jersey Democratic blowout, and they're still getting on camera and lying about everything. The only difference this time is they're getting fact checked immediately, leaving no room for their misinformation or disinformation to spread to anybody else than those who choose to remain in the cult. And who cares about a bunch of Nazis anyway? And with that being said, release the Epstein files, Donald Trump. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please make sure to have a great day. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you next time.